The Precious Daisy. Written by anonymous author. Here begins the first operation. In the name of Benedict Jesus Christ, here begins the practice of make the so-called glorious quintessence, vegetal and mineral. And first you have to take the best wine, vermel and old, that he can be found, and that he is not acetus, that is to say sour, and not too red or clear. And put this one into a vessel suitable for distilling with its still and container, joint them well together, and distill it by the bain-marie until halfway. Then keep the one that is distilled and squeeze it with a good wax, and let it be put in cold place, and also what remained at the bottom, well stuffed, and the apart. And of these two let it be made a good and large quantity. In this passage here, and first operation Raymond Lully, philosopher and prince of the moderns, and who spoke more of this quintessence in several of his treatises by mixing it books talking about alchemy to offend him, and especially in two of his books named Lucus Mercuriorum, and to the quintessence book, in the second distinction. And also Christoffel de Paris, that good doctor, in his Lucidare of Alchemy, perfect declarer of the three orders natural philosophy, and transmutation of metals, say that before making this first distillation, you have to putrefy the said wine for the space of 20 days, and this so that the quality of the four elements can be better untied, and to separate. I did one and the other diet, but I can't find of difference, and thus will be made the shortest as I write it, although one and the other can be done who wants. After having distilled good quantity of this distilled water, you will take it and redistill it 7 times, always removing the phlegm that remains at the bottom of the vessel, that you keep also. And set it aside, and do so much distillations that your brandy is a spiritual essence, and that it burns all without leaving any phlegm, because that is the soul of our land and magisterium. Although a good operator can perfect it in 4 distillations, which you keep in a cold and well-suppressed place, and also you keep phlegm separate to use as needed, as below it will be declared. This is the first operation of our vegetable mercury, that is to say matter premium of our quintessence, and by the virtue of his soul we draw his glorified and spiritual body from the Thessalian, and bring him from potential to act, and incorruptible, and also accompanied by his spirit. Second operation. In the same way it is necessary to take this matter which remained at the bottom of the vessel, which is the phlegm and feces of the wine, and the put in his vessel, and distill the water as long as he can exit through the bain-marie, and set the said water aside with the other phlegm. And you will be left at the bottom of the vessel a black matter like grape pitch or like honey, from which matter you must draw an oil, which is pulls with the phlegm of the kind. Take some of this distilled phlegm, and put on it the matter black a good half-foot that will swim over it, and then put it on the ash fire, with it still and container, and boil through 3 hours. Then let yours cool vessel, and you will find your colored water, which you remove by inclination and put in a vessel, and the you will keep. And then you will put still more phlegm on said dark matter, and you will do the same diet until whether your water is more colored in redness, and if yours phlegm failed you, put to distill. And it will distill white as before, and you will be left with an oil red like the blood that you will separate. And so you put phlegm on dark matter, lest it become more colorful, and there will remain at the bottom of the vessel a matter of which you must draw an invisible spirit, by virtue of water of life, out of the body, and you will cleanse the body, and thus you will make it more spiritual. Third party operation. Similarly, we must take this dark matter that Raymond Lully also calls nigrum, nigrius nigro, and put it above his soul, which is the water of life, outside the body, which swim 3 fingers above dark matter, and you will put it still and container, the joints well tied, and will put it boil over the ash fire for half an hour. And you leave to cool for an hour, then put back in what is distilled, and you will let it sit for an hour. And then you will remove the said water by inclination, and put it in his ship, well stuffed, and then you will still do the same diet 3 times, and put all the brandy together, which attracts the invisible spirit of the earth, and in this passage all the philosophers have kept silence and have nothing wanted to declare. Now we've drawn soul and spirit, and don't know each other only by the taste, the difference of the brandy when it is alone or when she has her mind with her, which has a taste wonderfully sharp, penetrating and dissolving. Fourth operation and calcination. So now we have to pull out the clean body and do it spiritual and take away his alien land and then join him with his soul and his spirit, which will be done in this way. Take a vessel according to the quantity of the earth, which has the pass long, and put there the said earth which is black as a coal, and that it is well pulverized with a mortar and a pestle of earth. And you will seal the said vial with fire, which he can breathe nothing of it, and may it be well fought for good reed as usual, and you will put it in an oven from Athanor to a good coal fire, night and day, through the space of 10 natural days. Fifth operation. That done, you will take your material and put it in a oronal with its still and container, and you will put in it the fourth part of the water of life, where his spirit is. And you will put it to putrefy in the smoke of the bain-marie by 24 hours, and after the other part of the soul which is the brandy with his spirit. And so you will put everything in 4 times, for 4 days. And it's the word that says Arnaud de Villeneuve ho terra cum aqua putrescit and mundificator et cum mundificata surit, totum magistrum de auxilio deritis. And also the same as Raymond says Lully in the Cortatorica partis terro terrae. Sixth operation, which is to make the earth part. Now we must draw the earth direct and natural, and our ammoniac salt, testamentary mercury, lacrima alone, and infinity of names that philosophers have given it for offend him. And this is the whole secret, because all the other things are almost vulgar. Because this salt is the one that unites soul and spirit to make our physical dissolution and conservative, and you will do so. Remove your matter from the urinal and put it in a vial which have a moderately long neck, well luted, and put it in ashes with its still and container, fight them well joints. And you will make a small fire at the beginning and increasing it little by little, and will distill a water with little taste, for the body has retained its spirit, and also the soul in part. And by increasing the fire, the body will be sublimated, it is to know the earth alongside the vessel, a white sublimated like snow with a great smell. And continue the fire until you no longer see smoke in the vial, and then the earth will be born. Let cool the stove, and blut, and subtly you will remove your white sublimated earth, and you will keep it in a tightly closed vessel, until you make the conjunction of body, soul and spirit together. And this is the word that Jean de Meun says in the fountain, that, first of all, you must, without a doubt, make your body a spirit, incorporates into the body of the fatherless spirit. And if all this you don't know how to do it, don't start the business. The said Jean de Meun says yet another word, we must put by artifice the body, the soul together, as long as one the other looks like. Seventh operation. In the name of God you will take 3 pounds of good water from life that has served no purpose, and may it be rectified, and spiritual, and put in it 3 or 4 ounces of sublimated body, which sublimated in the spirit with oneself, and you will put everything in a well-luted flask with its alembic and container, with their seams well and tightly bound with canvas pieces and flour soaked with egg mucus, and put on the fire of ashes to be distilled with a mediocre fire. And it will pass the body with soul and spirit together, as long as there remains nothing at the bottom, and will all have passed through the still to the container, a water so white, celestial and clear that it is difficult to can be seen in the glass. And thus is fulfilled ours quintessential, glorious, spiritual and incorruptible, the body is made glorified and invisible. And this water is the water of life of philosophers, and the vegetal quintessence which has the power of resuscitate the metallic bodies, and reform the daisies, from small to large. And so is fulfilled the word of Raymond Lully, who says that this quintessence is lumen perlarum, and anima metallorum, she dissolves and draws virtue from gemstones, groceries, gums, pulpits, fish, and all herbs, bring them from power in action, to the preservation of human nature, and has so many infinite virtues that whoever would write them down according to the sayings of the philosophers, we would almost make it a Bible. Raymond Lully wrote in a quintessential book of which he made 4 distinctions. And to the second puts the way of adopting the so-called quintessence for the body's human beings in many and various diseases, as it is we'll see at the end of this book. To which regime I wanted nothing put or decrease, if not his own pure ordinance, because in this one there is nothing hidden in the way of putting it in operation for the health of the human body. Although in other operation he was taciturn. The philosophers called ours quintessence heaven, for this that heaven has its own ornaments, as are the sun, the moon and the stars, and celestial bodies. Neither more nor less than comparison are quintessences to its adornments, gold, silver and other metals, precious stones and herbs and other things than in the said treaty will be named. But by the true adornment and accomplishment of doing all these virtues, is done by means of gold and daisies. As Raymond Lully says in his Lucid, who says quinta essentia non habet odorum nisi sol prius surit dissolutus in ipsa, and is seen by experiment only when the gold is dissolved physically. All the smells of the world are similar, and thereby we make the salific dissolution with the plant inseparably to adopt them according to their diet. 8th operation. To draw the salific quintessence through vegetal virtue, it must begin with conservative calcination. And first we will dissolve the gold for the make it drinkable and spiritual, and will start to calcination, of which there are several, but I will only put one, the shortest and the best. Which calcination is necessary, as Arnaud de Villeneuve says, quia omni sic cum naturalite appetite sim moist. Because as long as the bodies will be charred, the sooner they are ready to dissolve and composition. And to all the other things materials, no calcination is necessary, except for metals, for what they are of strong composition and union. And for that take an ounce of the finest gold you can find and put it in platinum subtle like a dozen, and then put it in royal cement by 24 hours. Then afterwards you will melt it and have it put into sheets by a gold beater, and if you don't have a gold beater, you put and melt it with 3 ounces of cupula moon. And you will separate it by common strong water, and the gold will remain in the subtle powdered base, which you will boil with vinegar distilled by 6 hours. Then you will remove the vinegar, who will have drawn the smokiness of strong water by inclination. Then you will put the said ground to calcine. And then you will mix it with 6 ounces of prepared common salt. And you will put it in a new crucible, well covered and sealed, and will leave a small passage in the middle of the lid, and then you will put it in a reverberation furnace, or coal underneath and on it, by 24 hours, and the salt will go away completely, and there will remain at the bottom of the crucible the powdered gold, which you will return again with as much salt prepared by again 24 hours, and you will do this same diet by 4 times, and this can be done while we are doing the quintessence. Similarly, take a glass vessel which calls itself a mattress, whose neck is 2 feet long, well luted, and you put in the said ounce of gold reduced to powder impalpable, with 6 ounces of the so-called vegetable quintessence, and you will put his still and container all well fought. And you will make the joints, and you will put in the oven of ashes to small fire all day, and in the evening remove your quintessence by inclination, where most of the gold will be dissolved. And you will put dissolved gold and quintessence into a mattress well quenched, and you will return the said quintessence to the says undissolved gold. And you will do the same diet until let everything be dissolved, and when everything is dissolved, put everything in a rotting long-necked mattress. At the fire of the bath Mary for the space of 40 days, and then the putrefaction and corruption of either party, and then the aforesaid odorifications will take place. Then you will remove out of the bain Marie, as it says. And you will have yours aurum potable and the 2 glorious quintessences altogether incorruptible to adopt them according to their regime that the philosophers have written. Again Raymond Lully said and did that other dissolution in Book of the Conservation of Human Life, and says thus: And if peracta decima distillation emissias aurum in quintam essentium and will where evolare facius quintam essentium and postia nionas aurum in loco humido nellum balneo in quartet dibus perf. Soluiter edi hoc est aurum potable habet infinitas virtuts uticeri sai in libro de conservation humani vitae. This one I did, but I can't find it so glorious in corruption and odorification. Like that which is made by putrefaction, it can make itself one and the other as the operator pleases. Raymond Lully also says that an ounce of gold thus dissolved by the 10 distillations of the said quintessence, which putting on 100 ounces of mercury will rot in 10 days, will freeze and convert to fine gold. I neither want nor belong to me contradict these said or ordinances, but Sir Francois that of Norche Popes Dr. Clement and I we did it in Rome, and we were only able to convert 50 ounces. Of which I cannot understand the defect between operations. The said Raymond Lully only declares that he can make transmutation on the metals of 2 others without the help of the mineral quintessence only for the present abbreviate. And not mix one with the other in writing something else to your majesty. Yours Royal Majesty can see in this brevity that was possible for me I put the practice there. Begging her very humbly do not want to implement 1,000 people that it is not very secret act charity, because I do not know how to write the infinite virtues. Both for the comfort of human nature than the transmutation of philosophy nature of metals, because few things are taken in the science of alchemy that this is the origin and principle of all. And to do several and various operations, tans for the human body that for the transmutation of metals it is of necessity to separate the vegetal quintessence from the mineral. Which is done by a single distillation by fire of ashes that the quintessence goes through the still, RT the gold remains at the bottom in oil red like blood. Which are well kept apart to implement them according to their operations that one will want to make of them, as it will be declared to the articles in the manner how one owes it to the fire. And so that this quintessential vegetal and mineral because of its great virtues has power to make clenching the doctor's mouth together parts of their medical books, me returning to Padua, Pavia and Bologna and doing old operations and experiments on any of the patients in various illnesses. I was upset with any doctors saying that I did not do well to adopt and give the said quintessence to the sick, seeing that the brandy was hot, do not knowing what she had at the center. Although they saw that experience defended me to words and probations that Raymond Lully says in his book of the quintessence, and thus says that the brandy did not have the nature of common water, which is cold and wet, for this that when no person in any of its limbs has no nerve colds or freezes washing it with simply brandy, it warms them up, revives them and put back into their first being, which she could not do if it was cold and damp like any other common water. And when the element of fire, them saying she's hot, certainly and obviously would prove the contrary, because when the fire is on every limb of the person, the washing with brandy 3 or 4 times in 24 hours, takes away her fire and heals her perfectly, and in the inner parts of the human body. When it is drunk all in the morning in small quantities, it refreshes the liver and removes alteration, and I know from my own experience, that since I had the knowledge of the said quintessence, who is more than 10 years old, in my God winter nor summer I do not know what does thirst mean, and for several other reasons says it Raymond Lully proves that she is not hot, but temperate in all qualities, and that it is of the nature of air which is hot and humid, and naturally air corrupts all things, like musk, when it is in the air it loses its scent. And the ray and several other fish being out of the water come to die and corrupt, and yet the air corrupts all flesh, which not do this water, because this first thing that, which would take 4 or 5 kinds of raw flesh and put them in vessel of glass or other, with the brandy perfectly suffocated, would see that the sayings would not be corrupted in 100 years. And if it keeps dead flesh from corrupting, so much the more must it keep alive, and for several other reasons that can be specified. And that it is not earthy in nature, that can be seen with the eye that the earth is not with her, and although in her quintessence be its own land, it is not of nature common ground of the other earth, because the common earth is cold and dry, and the other is hot and humid, and made spiritual and non-corporeal like the common earth. And so it says Raymond Lully obviously warns by the reasons that all the qualities of its four elements are incorruptible, that is to say of this so-called quintessence vegetable and mineral. And so is fulfilled the present prologue and regime of the vegetal and mineral quintessence, which I will otherwise name Marguerite Precious, the so-called quintessence having powers over the daisies. For the conservation of human nature, and reformation of these, from small to large. Very pleading humbly your royal majesty to forgive my weakling understanding, and take this daisy in favor, until that God will have given me the grace to have done other things importance. And I would like your royal majesty to participate, imploring our Lord Jesus Christ, that it please him to give you long and good life, and fulfillment of your very high and noble desires. The end.